Hey. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Aaron and Derrick. I'm Derrick and he is.
And I'm Aaron. And you're some random dude.
I'm some random dude. I'm a random fucking dude, man. That's me today. Just random. I'm here just to be here.
Well, this is a random episode because we haven't done anything in a while.
That's right. This is random. Everything. And here's the funny thing that this episode is gonna be all about going from something random to something specific.
Good segue.
So anyway, Aaron, what's in the glass tonight?
I am drinking a glass of Chardonnay.
All right, and I'm drinking a glass of Merlot. This stuff is called Leaping Grapes.
Oh, I've seen that on the shelves. Yeah,
and it's cheap. This bottle is like less than $10.
Good.
And it's like a 1.5 liter bottle, but it's really good. It reminds me of one of my favorites, the Velvet Devil.
I don't think trying to think if I ever tried that one. I don't think I have.
You need to try it.
Okay, I'll remember that.
No other reason that it has devil in the title.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I saw they were selling vampire wine and Dracula wine.
I've seen that.
Cabernets.
I've seen that. I need to get some of that. And it's funny that Transylvania, the region in Romania,
yeah,
is supposed to be known for really good wine.
I did not know that.
Yeah. A little bit of useless trivia. You're today years old.
Exactly.
So, do you want to kick off the subject, or you want me to go ahead and kick it off?
It's your topic, so I'm gonna let you kick it off.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I think about is that there is no shortage of goodness in the world. And what do I mean by that? My wife likes beautiful purses. Gucci, Hermes, Louis Vuitton, Chanel, Gucci. She likes all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing is that whether you choose to buy any of it or participate in it or not, it's going to get made and it's going to get consumed. I used to think about things like Rolls-Royce made a car called the Speedtail, and it was their most expensive car made. It cost $28 million.
Wow.
One car.
Wow.
One car. And you'll say, who needs a fucking car that costs $28 million?
Yeah.
The answer to that is nobody.
Right.
Nobody needs that car. However, somebody at Rolls-Royce said it'd be a great idea to make this car, and somebody's going to buy it, and somebody did. Rumor has it that it was Jay-Z and Beyonce. Who knows? But that's the rumor.
Okay.
And whether you're talking about Rolls-Royce or Bentley, or you're talking about sporty cars like Bugatti or Ferrari, or if you're talking about watches like Rolex, Patek Philippe's, Richard Milan, people are buying this stuff. This stuff is going to get consumed whether you participate in it or not.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And so I think about this and I say, okay, how do I participate in that?
Okay.
See, because somehow you have to position yourself in such a way that you're able to receive those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to receive those kind of things, you have to first believe that you can have it. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to start off my salvo with this, right? That when you look at all of the artwork by the great masters, Rembrandt, Picasso, Monet, Manet, Rembrandt, and you look at all of these paintings, for all of their exquisite detail, and all that they inspired the rest of the art of their day.
Mm-hmm.
Each and every one of those paintings existed in the mind of the painter before they painted it.
Mm-hmm.
Why is this important? Y'all gonna love this, and I hope that this really helps somebody, because shit got real before it got real.
Mm.
The mere thought made it real. Why? Because in order for that thought to happen, some physical manifestation had to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That there was a wave or a particle or a field, there was something that inspired this level of consciousness to get a canvas to paint on the canvas. In other words, it was real before it was real.
Yeah.
And that is my opening salvo in the manifestation, because part of the reason why I think we don't get what we want is because we really haven't assigned a specificity
Sure.
to those things.
Right.
We really haven't, like, give me an example. Take a car. You might say, I want a Corvette. I want a Corvette. And that's great. Corvettes, especially new Corvettes, God almighty. There was a guy that just bought one and he sold it as a ZR1, which is the Mac Daddy of Corvettes. He bought it and he sold it after he drove it 40 miles. And they're expecting that it's going to auction for over $400,000.
Wow.
It's a $200,000 car, but there just aren't many of them out there. There aren't as many of them out there as the demand is. So supply and demand, price goes up. But this guy, I was reading, they listed his option sheet because this guy ordered this car. He ordered it. It was Arctic white exterior. It was red leather with Alcantara trim on the inside, with carbon fiber inserts on all the dashboard trim and the steering wheel. All of that's extra cost stuff. The high-end stereo. And then he got things like the Aero package, which most people that get this Mag Daddy Corvette, they get this giant wing on the back, right? Mm-hmm. This guy, he got one without the wing. Why? Because if you're trying to do his top speed of 230 miles an hour, it's going to do it better without the wing than with it, right? So this guy really thought about the details of this. I mean, carbon fiber ceramic brakes and carbon fiber wheels. This guy went into very picayune detail about this car. He knew precisely what he wanted. And because he knew exactly precisely what he wanted, he was able to get it. Now watch this. Some people will say, well, Derrick, yeah, he got that because he has a shit ton of money. And he may have that. He may have a shit ton of money. But guess what? A person who goes into that level of detail about their car has gone into that level of detail about their money.
True.
And the fact is, we go out and we shop for things, and we don't look for something specific. We look at something general, like we say, I want a Rolex watch. Okay, great, that's nice. But if you say, I want a Rolex Submariner Hulk edition with the green dial, now you're getting pretty specific, right? Or if you say, I want a Hulk Submariner with Mickey Mouse hands, now it's getting really specific. In other words, the more specific that you can be and the more focused that you can be on that specificity, the more likely you are to bring about your manifestation. Now, I'm going to go into this. I'm going to use you and I as examples later on.
Yeah.
I'm going to kick it over to you because that's my opening salvo on manifestation.
Yeah. The specific part, right? Like people say, and I remember, when we were preaching, what do you want? I want to be blessed. I want to be prosperous. I want to be healthy. Okay. But what does that mean? Especially blessed. Like, I want to be blessed. Okay. Well, You got a parking spot. does that count?
Yeah.
You believe. So the specific part is really important. And so then, I'm always like interested in how the mind works and why aren't we more specific when it comes to this stuff? Just basic goal setting, right? Like SMART goals. The S in SMART starts with being specific, right? So it's pretty conventional knowledge, I guess you could say. If you want to achieve something, you need to be specific about it. But why aren't we specific? And I think it's because we live in denial a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We enjoy living in denial, especially if our life or something about our life is shitty, right?
Yeah.
So, and this can apply in so many levels. Somebody maybe they find a lump or something on their body. Some people go immediately to the doctor. Other people like, oh, it'll go away on its own, because they don't want to look under the hood, so to speak.
Yeah.
Find out what's going on, right? And it'd be scary, right? But I remember we had this back when we first started, early 2000s. I met a pastor who was like bona fide multimillionaire, and that was back when that really meant something.
Yeah.
Now it feels like you got to be a millionaire just to shop.
You got to be a billionaire now.
Yeah. But we had been out to his place. I'd spoken at his church, and he had he owned 2 or 3 airplanes. He had his own hangar, runway on his property, swimming pool, stuff like that. So I was like, I want you to come do a conference on finances for us. So we did this big conference at the church on finances. And I remember, and at that time I was living by faith, paycheck at that time, with all the money I had coming in, I was $500 short of just basic expenses every month.
Wow.
I had to figure out a way to get that. But living by faith and whatever. And I remember he's sitting at my dinner table and he tells me this. He says, Aaron, if you want to prosper, you have to tell yourself the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And he just starts grilling me. I mean, I was uncomfortable, like, do you have a budget? No. Why didn't I have a budget? Because I knew I was $500 short, every month. I don't want to look at that. And then, so he pulls out his budget that he does. And, my budget would have consisted of house payment, utilities, car, gas, dinner, food, groceries, a little bit of play money every month, right?
Yep.
And he's like, his budget was like, how much are you budgeting for household products like laundry detergent and shampoo? And, how much are you budgeting for car repairs, for new tires, for, and I'm just like, dude, I'm thinking to myself, I can't even make the basics, like any of that. I'm one crisis away from complete bankruptcy, right?
Yeah.
But something shifted in me at that point, and I was able to get honest. Plus, we had a lot of debt at that time too, a lot of consumer debt, a lot of credit card debt, and so we started a plan. But being specific, when you're specific about your goal and you're honest, brutally honest, ruthlessly honest with yourself about where you're at and where you want to go, then you can get a plan. You can get an effective plan. And that's the other thing I think is that, the old adage, if you're
if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Fail to plan, you're planning to fail. Yeah. And then following that plan, right? So just some basic stuff like this isn't even getting into spooky mystical manifestation stuff. And I love that stuff. I believe in that stuff. The mystical part of it for me, I believe in that. But you got to do some of the basics, and it starts with being specific. And then you have to be able to not live in denial about where you're at. You got to really, at some point, you really got to face the absolute truth about yourself, and not with criticism and not with shame and not with condemnation, but just brutal honesty.
Yep.
And I think that also includes, and I think this is so important and so missed, being brutally honest with yourself about what it is that you want. And this is where, Christians get messed up with it a lot. But it doesn't just have to be Christians, because you might have a desire in your heart that's genuine to you, that's authentic to you, but it isn't biblical. It's not socially acceptable. Maybe it's culturally, it's not okay or whatever. And so you'll edit your desires because it's not okay. Maybe that's not the will of God. Maybe that's, you judge it in some way, or you've been so disappointed in life and so beat down in life that you're afraid to have desires anyway, because you just think that that's just going to mean more disappointment for you. Right. So I think the honesty part, and even the specificity part, starts with desire and being honest. And so I think the better question to ask, and I've said this on here before, but the better question to ask is not, is this desire right or wrong? Or even at this point, when you're just starting out, is this going to be good for me down the road? If I get this, am I handing a bigger problem off to future self? I think just brutally honest, is this something I want? Yeah, this is genuinely something that I want. And then you can go from there and you can think about it more. Is it going to cause problems for me down the road? That kind of stuff. Yep. But giving that thought up front to what it is that you want to manifest, I think we jump over that part and just try to get right into, I want the new car, the new job, the better relationship, whatever it is that we're trying to manifest. And so I think it starts with brutal honesty. It starts with desire. It starts with being honest about your desires and being authentic in that way. And then getting into the specifics about where you're at in your life, telling yourself the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Why don't I have this right now? Why don't I already have this? Why hasn't this been something? So just, I know we're probably going to talk about both of us in our health journeys that we went on in different times of our lives. But, I had to get brutally honest that there were things in my lifestyle that were contributing to my poor health. And you can't violate the laws of biology.
Right.
Forever. You can in your 20s, maybe your 30s. But after a while, if you want longevity, you want health, you got to make some changes. And so I had to own the things in my life that got me into that shape in the first place. And then I could get a plan on how to get out of it.
So we're talking about, and I'll put this on the screen. Number one, get ruthlessly clear on what you actually want.
Yeah.
One of the things that I know that, and I've been guilty of this, I may have a need for like $10,000. $10,000. That's what I need right now. I have a specific need that this $10,000 is going to actually fulfill this, right? So then what do? I get in my word of faith mode. Well, God said he's going to do it sevenfold. So I said, well, $70,000. I said, okay, well, if I can round that up, I can say $100,000. So I'm believing for $100,000. Okay, here's the thing. I need 10,000. I need 10,000. Some people say, okay, I need a car, a reliable car that's going to get me to and from work. And you say, well, I believe for a new car. And then you start saying, well, I believe for a Mercedes-Benz. Well, to be honest, you don't need the Mercedes-Benz. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with desiring a Mercedes-Benz. But your need is a reliable vehicle to get you from point A to point B.
Right.
So I think that part of the thing that we do is that we are not honest with ourselves about what our needs are.
Right.
And so what happens is that we say, oh, well, if I have the faith the size of a mustard seed.
Yeah.
And you start, you start how can I say it? You start applying hyperbole to what you're believing for. And then what happens is you get in faith. I'm using my air quotes here. You get in faith for this thing, and it doesn't happen. Okay, so that's the first thing. I don't think that we're very intellectually honest with ourselves about that. The second thing that you were talking about, and this is a big one, right? Is you have to audit what your current situation is. You have to audit your reality. Where am I now?
Yeah.
Where am I now? And the thing is that, to be honest, folks, I'm gonna tell you one. I had a dream very recently, within the last 6 months, that my wife and I were rolling up to a restaurant in a Rolls Royce Cullinan, which is a Rolls Royce SUV.
Okay.
And it was sapphire blue metallic with sapphire leather with light blue piping. I remember the details of this car. Remember the details. Now, because I have driven, exotic and expensive cars, this isn't really a stretch. I had an experience one time where I took my boys to a Rolls Royce dealership. And at that time I had a BMW convertible, and I pulled up to the lot, and I'll never forget this. The guy, the dealership manager, his name was Ali. And he spent easily 4 hours with me and my kids. He let them sit in Rolls Royce Wraiths and Dawns and Phantoms, and then he took us for a ride in a Phantom convertible, and it was just really a surreal experience. And so I was thinking to myself, I said, and not just thinking to myself, I actually articulated this. I said, well, I'll probably never be in a position to buy a Rolls Royce. And he said, dude, you rode up here in a BMW convertible, a 6 Series convertible. He said, this isn't that big of a stretch for you. That's what the manager of the dealership told me.
Wow.
So the thing is that my current reality was not so incongruent from this potential reality. So what I'm saying to our viewers, our listeners, is that don't try to take huge leaps. Do baby steps. If your current reality says Toyota, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If you can apply the principles of manifestation to bring about a Toyota into your reality,
right,
you've done something. You've taken a step, and you have brought something into your life by your consciousness that you didn't have before.
Yeah.
And so assessing your current reality, where am I now? Like again, for example, if you're living in a 1-bedroom apartment, it's not, how can I say this? I would say it's not the healthiest thing to try to stretch your faith for a 6-bedroom, 4,000 square foot house. That may be a stretch. It may be incongruent with your current reality. So what you want to do is you say, okay, what can I believe for now? Okay, maybe it's a 3-bedroom bungalow. I can do that with what I'm paying for rent. Now you're saying, okay, this is something that I can bring about, because not only, and this is an important part about manifestation, is that James in the Bible said that faith without works is dead.
Yep.
Well, the same thing with the thought of manifestation without corresponding action will yield nothing.
Yep.
You have to first conceive it in your mind, believe it in your heart, speak it, and then do something. Yep. Make positive steps toward that. And if you do that, you can bring this to pass. And man, I'm going to use myself as an example, because when I bought the house in Tulsa, I had gone through a health crisis. I had let the house that I had worked very hard for go. Um, and so my credit was not great, but I believed that I could make this happen. So I said, okay, I need to set aside some money. First of all, I need to make some positive steps toward reframing and improving my credit. And then I have to picture something in my mind
Sure.
that is congruent with
Yeah.
my current reality.
Yep.
And so when I did all of these things, that produced the house in Tulsa. And it's funny because a lot of times in my past, I would look at something like that and I say, God, that's miraculous. But this time I didn't. I said, way to go, dude. You brought this, you created this reality, you brought this into being. And that was what it was. And then going back to the health thing, because I'm going to talk about that. And you're free to talk about yours to the degree that you want to, but
Sure.
Doctors told me that I had heart failure.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really so bad that I had my family come down for the Thanksgiving after I was diagnosed, because I thought I was going to say goodbye to everybody. I really thought I was going to die. But then I thought about it. I said, what do I know about heart issues? What do I know? And what can I learn? And then what things did I do to bring myself to this situation? And what kind of things can I do to bring myself out? So it was a process of education. It was a process of action. It was a process, and it was a process of seeing myself healed.
Yeah.
And that was the first thing. So when I saw myself healed, I did the research. I started doing the work. I started doing things in my life, changing my lifestyle to bring this about. And when it was all over and done with, it was 6 months from the time I was diagnosed that I met with my cardiologist. And my cardiologist told me, he said, hey, I got 2 things I need to tell you. He said, number one, he said, I'm retiring today. He said, I'm not going to be your doctor anymore. He said, that's one thing. He said, the second thing is that you're not going to need me or anybody else like me again, because you're fine. Mm-hmm. Your ejection fraction is normal. Mm-hmm. What am I saying? Is that I manifested my health. I manifested my house. And then fast forward to the last year, I was unemployed for 1.5 years. A lot of y'all don't know that. A lot of y'all don't know that. But Aaron, you were there with me, man, for all the way. And brother, I love you for that. But I was unemployed, and I thought I was going to lose my house. But then I said, you know what? I can't see myself losing what I worked so hard for.
Right.
So I began to think about what do I need to do to mitigate this situation? What do I need to do to try to reframe the situation? And what can I do to help preserve and protect this investment? And I had to believe that it could be done.
Yeah. And
so I did. And so, in spite of everything, I got a mortgage modification where my interest rate was 1.5% less than what I was paying. And guys, I was at 3.5%. I got a 2% mortgage right now in a sea of 7%. So I'm saying all this to say is that, you can believe these things. And man, I'm gonna save the best for last, but I'm gonna kick it back to you at this point here.
Yeah, I got so many manifestation stories that I could tell, but just listening to you. But I'm gonna read a Bible verse.
Go right ahead, preacher.
This harkens back to the story I'm going to tell about when I got engaged to my wife. So you know, I suppose a lot of people on here have heard my story that, you know, my family lost all their money,
Yep.
house, cars, everything, just a couple of years before I met my wife. And she did, you know, she came from not a lot of means also, you know what I mean? And so she would have been content with whatever kind of wedding or whatever kind of engagement ring, right? Like the engagement ring part was really important. So this funny story. So I think we decided to get married in the beginning of August of 1994. And we set the date, and why we did this I can't remember, but we set the date, set a like a year-long engagement or whatever. We set the date for November 19th, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was working in ministry, and anyway, I ended up losing that job out of jealousy. Honestly, the guy came back to me later. The pastor was like, I was afraid you were going to take over the church. I was the associate pastor, and I would preach and fill the house, and him not so much. So he was jealous, and he was afraid I was going to take over his ministry or whatever. So he just decided to fire me and get rid of me after I'd set the date, right? And I was trying to figure out this wedding ring thing, and I didn't have any credit. I didn't have any money. I didn't have a job. So even if I had credit, I couldn't go into like Zales or whatever department store and get a credit card and put something on credit, right? And so I had a old Masonic ring that was my great uncle's that I'm named after. And it had, I want to say, a 1/4 carat diamond in it, right? And so I thought, well, I could take that 1/4 carat diamond and I could melt it down, and you know, but I really wanted to get her something nice, right?
Yeah.
And I had just read The Fourth Dimension by at the time he was going by Paul Yonggi Cho, you know, pastoring the biggest church in the world.
Yep.
And his whole thing was acting as though you already have it. So the Bible verse, it's amazing. I'm like, do people even read their Bibles? Like when I was a Christian, I was like, does anybody, have they actually read the Bible?
No.
Because Jesus says here in, you know, Mark 11:23, you know, he says, if you say to the mountain, be cast in the sea, you'll have whatever you say, right?
Yep.
But then he goes on and he says in verse 24, therefore I say to you, whatever things you ask when you pray, believe that you receive them and you will have them. Now, in the English, it's a little bit deceiving because, as you know, the Greek has certain tenses.
More nuances.
That is more nuanced in terms of past, present, future than what the English language is, right? So what it actually says there in the tense is believe you received it in the past. And you have it. So not believe you received it when you pray, but pray and then act like it happened in the past,
right?
Which means you already got it, right?
Yeah.
And so I decided to get really radical about this. And so I just started telling everybody I had this great ring to give to Julie. I didn't have any ring, man. I mean, I might have, you know, if this was back when, you remember those cans of soda where you could pop the top off and it would come completely off, and then people started choking on them or whatever, so they had to change the thing.
People would put them in the can and then drink.
Yeah, exactly. And so I thought that, you know, that's the best I could come up with. But I wanted to have something good, so I was acting like I already had it in my mind, in my thinking, in the way I talked to people. I didn't tell anybody, oh, please pray for me because I need to get this. I didn't tell a soul what I was doing. And I think that's another mistake that we make sometimes. I think we talk too much. And what's crazy about this verse is, how can you go back to God and pray for the same thing over and over and over again?
Right.
If you believe you already received it in the past, what are you doing getting on a prayer chain? Or, you know, will you agree with me, brother?
Jesus also said, whatsoever you ask in my name, that will I do.
Yeah. So what's the point of all these prayer chains and prayer circles and prayer meetings and all that stuff that we do, right? It's not biblical, at least not according to this. But anyway, that's besides the point. So here's what happened. I think people were feeling bad for her because we're into the middle of September. We're getting married in 2 months. And, the first thing I'm sure any woman, when they get engaged, especially for the first time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can I see the ring?
Yeah.
It had to be embarrassing for her, right? And so I had somebody come, and her mom came and gave me her grandmother's ring or something, and it was tiny.
Mm.
And I was like, no, I want to get her something better than that. So I said, no, thank you. I got this. I got one.
Yeah.
I got one. And everybody's like, well, where is it? I said, don't worry, I got it.
I got it. Yeah.
But then also putting corresponding action to your face. So remember, I'm not working, but I would get some preaching engagements or some odd jobs that I would do. So any money that I got, I was putting in this shaving bag. It was a little bag that came with razors and stuff like that. And I emptied it out, and I would stick money in this shaving bag,
Mm-hmm.
right? That was my corresponding action.
Yep.
And so then I had another friend. She gave me her grandma's ring. And she's like in tears. This was my grandmother's ring. I was so close to her, but I feel like the Lord, and this is where it gets sick with people, right? Like,
yeah.
Like it's an idol and you've got to give it away, or you got to, sacrificial love and all this. So she's like, she really didn't want to give this ring up, but she felt like she needed to for whatever reason. And she gave it to me, and I looked at it, and I didn't have the heart to say, that's not nice enough. I'm not that rude. I may not have had people skills back then, but I had enough sense. So I just said, thank you. But I couldn't give it to her because it wasn't right. See, I was being specific.
Right. And it wasn't the thing.
So I want people to think about this. Yeah. I manifested 2 rings.
Wow.
But it wasn't the ring.
It wasn't the ring. Wow.
So we're a week away from her birthday, and my goal was to be able to give it to her. So it's another SMART goal thing, right? Like time sensitive. I wanted to be able to present her with the ring on her birthday, and we're like a week away from her birthday. And I get a call from this guy, and not somebody I knew, not somebody that really knew my situation. I mean, we knew each other. He had my number. All right. But it wasn't, this is back before cell phones, whatever. So he calls, before most of us had cell phones. So I pick up the phone, and he's like, hey, this is Ralph. Hey, do you have you gotten Julia? I heard you got engaged. I'm just wondering, have you given her a ring? And I love the way he framed the question.
Excuse me.
Because he didn't ask me, do you have a ring? He said, have you given her a ring?
Mm.
And so I said, no, I haven't given her a ring. And he says, well, the Lord's been dealing with me. He said, I don't know if you know this, but I got engaged a few years ago, and the girl broke off the engagement with me, and I've had a hard time letting go of that relationship. And because of that, I've kept this ring in a safe deposit box. Now I'm thinking, you're not keeping just any old ring in a safe deposit box, right?
Right. Yeah.
Because I've been keeping this in a safe deposit box. And here was the other thing, Derrick, was I felt like I needed to buy it. Like, it wasn't like if they gave it to me, it didn't mean anything.
It didn't mean anything. Correct.
So that was the other thing that made it wrong for me. So he says, so God's been dealing with me. I need to let go of this relationship, and I need to get rid of this ring. And he says, I'm really struggling, but the Lord gave me a price to sell you this ring. He said, and it's worth way more than this, but I'm willing to sell it to you for $250. Now, this is how lowly I was, because he's like, wow. Do you think you could come up with $250? And I said, I was in my bedroom, and I said, hold on one second, let me check. And I put the phone down, and I kid you not, I promise you the truth. I hadn't counted the money. I was just stuffing it. I didn't want to look at it because I didn't want to look at contrary evidence.
Yeah.
Right. I open up that bag, and Derrick, I had 250 to the dollar. I didn't have 251. I didn't have 240. I had $250. And I got back on the phone. I said, I'll take it. And it shocked him because secretly he was hoping he didn't want to
take it. Right.
So he says, well, don't you want to see it first? I said, no, brother, this is God. So he was the basketball coach at the university where I work. Where I work now. So I drive up to the university, and he gives me this panel set ring that had a total of full carat diamond and gold settings. And I mean, it was gold, obviously. Mm-hmm. And he gives me this ring. I give him the money, and I set this thing up at a Melodrama. There was this dinner theater place. So I take her to this dinner theater place, and I tell the guys ahead of time, I'm going to propose to my wife during the intermission. Mm-hmm. So they sit us down front, and she's like, why are we sitting in the front? I don't know. We're just favored. We're just blessed. And then the moment comes, I get down on one knee, and I hand her the ring. And did you know that thing fit her perfectly?
Wow.
Exactly her size.
Wow.
Now, and she's just like, and what was so funny was she was so shocked because it was such a nice ring that she was like, she didn't answer. So here I am in front of all these people. I'm like, will you marry me? And she's like, and then the guy finally says, well, and she goes, oh, yes. But her birthday's September 23rd. We're getting married November 19th.
Wow.
So less than 2 months, right? So she finally has this amazing ring. But now here's the cool part of the story for me. I think it was like 3 months later, this basketball coach meets and marries who's the person that's still his wife today. Oh. And I'm able to bring that ring that I had taken from my other friend and give it back to her. And when I gave it back to her, and I said, I appreciate this, but it didn't feel right to me. So here you go. I gave it back to her, and she just started bawling. Oh my God. So for her, it was like Abraham sacrificing Isaac or something. Right? So my point in all of that was these principles of, acting like you have it, being specific, and understanding what is the answer and what isn't the answer, right? Mm-hmm. And persevering. And I could tell so many stories like that, but that's one of my favorites.
So here's my story, right? That many of you know, Louis, hush. Many of you know that May and I dated many years ago, and we circled back and realized that we left something on the table and decided to rekindle. And the interesting part about that is that I was at a point where I felt unloved, where I felt unworthy, where I felt undesired. Mm-hmm. And I knew that she always made me feel that way in our 1.0.
It always made you feel undesired and unloved?
Yeah, I felt desired and loved, and so
I'm messing with you, man. I'm sorry.
Man. But the thing is that I could have taken my whole idea and applied it to somebody new, but she showed up in my life, mm-hmm. and not disrespectful, not trying to mess with my marriage or anything like that, and we talked. And I realized, I said, something, I really missed out on something here. And the funny thing is that she was at a point where she said, okay, I'm believing for and manifesting the man who's going to love me. And I was believing for and manifesting the woman who was going to love me.
Yep.
And it all converged. It all came together, and it was so but again, you know, when you look at something, when you think of something as being miraculous, you're like, oh shit, you know. But this wasn't that. This was like putting on a shoe that fit perfectly, or putting on a shirt that fit perfectly, or putting on a suit that fit perfectly. It was perfect. It felt natural. It was uncontrived. It was unstressed. It was just natural. And it's funny because you know, I went out and I bought her engagement ring, and this was funny because you know, she used to joke me. She said, now, you know, when we do decide to do this, if you decide that you want to propose, you know, she said, I don't want a diamond sneeze. That's what she called it. I don't want a diamond sneeze. And I'm like, okay, I get that. So I'm thinking about this, and so my deceased wife, Mickey, uh, I bought her a half a carat engagement ring. And at that time, that was pretty substantial.
Sure.
But a door was open, and Maya got a 3 carat ring.
Awesome.
It's beautiful. And the thing that I really I designed the ring. You know, I went on one of these websites where you can design the ring, and so I designed it. It's one of a kind. There's not another one like it, right? And but it was, again, it was like when it came, and so it was funny because I thought, man, I can't really afford this. Can't really afford this.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, okay, no, you know, I you know, put in the credit and boom, no problem, right? And so, matter of fact, fun fact, it'll be paid for. It'll be paid for next month.
Oh, I thought maybe that's why you were needing the $10,000.
Brother. So anyway, the point that I'm getting at is that our whole relationship and our engagement was a manifested event. And so let me say this one last thing about Maya and I, is that I was telling my friend Charlie Red that I said, hey, I'm going to propose to my girl on New Year's, and you know, I'm going to be in Austin. He said, hey, I know this guy, you know, they call him Big Greasy. You know, he's a drummer. They call him Big Greasy. But if you go and talk to Big Greasy and he's doing a show on New Year's Eve, he said he'll hook you up. So Charlie called him. I connect with this guy. This guy, they you know, we're at this place, like we're just New Year's Eve. It's me, Maya, my brother Brian, and his wife Antonia, and my sister Michelle. Now I told Brian and Michelle what was going on ahead of time, right? But nobody else knew. And well, the musicians knew, because I told them, I said, hey, I'm gonna propose to my wife. I'm propose to my fiance. This is what I want to do. And so we're out there dancing, just having a good time. And then they bring the house lights up, and they say, hey, you know, we got a special announcement here. And they set the whole thing up. And so I get down on one knee on the dance floor and I propose.
That's awesome.
And it was awesome. But the point that I'm getting at is that this was manifestation coming to pass.
Yeah, right.
It was something that I saw it in my mind's eye. I saw it in my heart, and I stood on that. I stood on that, and I'm like, this is it. This is right. And so here we are.
Yeah. If I could just comment on that, because there were so many things in that process that you both went through, but I knew your side, obviously, much more. There are things that we've talked about, going back to the very beginning of the show, because I remember, I think I do. I think I remember the night, you know, because you were assessing your current reality. Like, I'm in this place, I don't feel loved, I don't feel encouraged, like my emotional needs aren't being met at all.
Yep.
And there was a point where you owned that, but also where you owned that desire, because this is exactly what I was talking about. Like, is the desire authentic, right?
Yep.
Because you were, up until that time, you were being the dutiful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Here's the thing, and I don't mind you saying it, because you know the situation.
Yeah, I hope I'm not transgressing.
Brother, I give you full license to say exactly what you feel.
Here, but I'm trying to,
No, it's
but
fine.
I think it's so important, because, dude, like, it wasn't until you owned, this is my situation, this is what I really want, and you weren't specific to the fact that it couldn't be. In fact, you were very much open to the possibility that it could play out any way with any person, including your current situation, right? But you just said, I want this.
Yeah, I want to be loved.
Yeah. And the moment you owned that, there was a shift.
Yep.
And then
I'll never forget this. When I came to you and told you what was going on, you're like, dude, you were celebrating with me. And I'll never forget that, because it was like, you were like, I saw something like this, And so when we talk about the prophetic.
Yeah.
That was prophetic.
Yeah. Yeah. But I just think it's such a beautiful example of how our lives can change when we implement these principles. Because as you're telling the story, I'm thinking, yeah, you number one, check, number two, assessing the situation, check, right? Number three, visualize, check, feedback, check, it's all there. And I just think it's such a beautiful story. And I was so honored to be able to be a part of that.
You honored us with your presence,
dude. I was dying.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
I wish.
No, because let's talk about that, because here's the thing. Your situation is very similar to mine.
Yeah.
It was like,
yeah, this is important too. Something else I wanted to bring up, but like, I remember the day of the wedding or whatever, it's like, dude, fucking, I could barely get out of bed. And I remember you called me and you're like, hey, and I'm just like, dude, I'm so I can't, like.
Well, we drank a lot the night before.
We did drink a lot the night before, but it wasn't just that. And that was my thing. I was like, damn, I drank a lot, but geez, so did they. And I'm Irish, God damn it.
Well, I'm a quarter Irish.
I know. Y'all are doing fine, and I'm just like, I can't get out. I literally can't get out of bed. And then for the wedding, I was just like, I so wanted to be more present than I was able to be. And I'm like, what's going on? And so it turns out, within a month or whatever, I'm in the hospital, left for dead, basically. But here's the cool thing. Like, this is just the way this stuff works, man. Like, of all the things, what are the odds that I'm going to, call you, or I don't remember how it happened. I was freaking, my oxygen was at 81. My resting heart rate, I finally went back and looked at the notes from the emergency room and the hospital inpatient stay. My resting heart rate in the hospital averaged together was 184.
Wow.
I'm laying in bed and my heart is racing at 184 beats per minute. And I can tell you right now, I have never gotten my heart up that high with any kind of exercise, swimming, running, nothing, right? So you are able to tell me your story. This is a beautiful thing about manifestation.
Yeah.
You had your family come Thanksgiving because you think this is it. This is the end. And if you look it up, you Google it, you ask AI or whatever, is there any cure for heart failure? No, there's no cure for heart failure. You're basically fucked.
Right.
Right. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, I honestly thought I was just having trouble breathing, because I just suck shit up. And I thought I was having trouble breathing, and they give me some steroids, and I go home. And everybody laughs at me when I say that now. Like, Julie laughs at me, and like, you really thought that? Like, I knew it was your heart. I was like, I didn't have any idea it was my heart, But 15 minutes into it, they're like, do you want to be resuscitated? What's your DNR? Do you want to be on life support? I mean, the time it took her to park the car, and I'm in the emergency room, and she comes walking in, and there's 3 or 4 people, and the doctor looks concerned, and I'm like, what is going on here, right? So I needed something, especially because total in the rock bottom of deconstruction, not sure if God even exists, not maybe we are just worm food after this. Maybe this all is one big cosmic accident. I can't do anything to affect this outcome, whatever. And you tell me your story. And I knew you'd had heart problems, but I never knew what it was.
Yeah.
And you're like, however many years ago, I was in the hospital. I had heart failure. And I'm going to tell you, dude, that was a fucking beacon of light. Because you're getting prognoses, you're going down I'm getting prognosis. I'm going down the internet rabbit hole, the Google rabbit hole. At one point, my cardiologist was like, stop, just get off the internet.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I remember what they told me. They said, if your ejection fraction goes below 20, you're in danger of imminent death.
Yeah.
And then when you told me what your ejection fraction was, I was like, whoo.
Yeah. After I had the cardio version where they unplugged me and plugged me back in to get my heart back in a normal rhythm.
Yeah.
My ejection fraction that day was still 33%.
Wow.
That's still low.
Yeah.
That's 3 or 4 months out.
Yeah.
And so I can't tell you how much hope that gave me. And what are the odds, right? What are the odds? But see, here's the thing. If you had just given up and died, you know what I'm saying?
I wouldn't have had anything to give to you.
And then where would I have been?
Maybe the same place.
Yeah, probably.
We would have both been dead.
That's
the worm food, Aaron.
Yeah. That's the ripple effects of these things. That's why it's so important to talk about, and it's so important to share. Because I mean, it's just mind-blowing, isn't it? Because you were able to manifest a fully functioning heart.
Yep.
And the cardiologist was able to tell you, get lost. I'm retiring. You're not going to need me. Come back. Don't come back. We don't want to see you anymore. You know what I mean? And
the cardiologist called. He had a term for this. He called it. He said, "You have completely remodeled your heart." And when I think about that, I'm like, wow, because you think about remodeling a house.
Yeah.
What does it mean to remodel a house to make it totally renewed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened, and so I'm grateful, first of all, that I was able to survive and have a story to tell, but I'm doubly grateful that I was able to share my experience with you so that you could, remodel your heart.
Yeah.
And so this what I have on the screen here, take relentless aligned action.
Let me just say this real quick. I got a message today on Messenger from a person who heard me share my testimony on one of my lives, and they were facing their own heart trouble. And so I was able to have, I think, one phone conversation with that person, and I got a message today that their heart's fine, their heart beats in rhythm. I was able to help them connect some of their emotional stuff that they were dealing with how that was manifesting as atrial fibrillation, and the person just took it and went to work on it, and now they're good. So it just keeps going.
Yeah.
It's fucking awesome.
And let me say this. You hit on a very important point of all of this, right? That manifestation. See, this is the thing. We get
I'm gonna get some more wine. Keep talking, but I'm gonna get myself another glass.
no problem.
All right,
It's like we get caught in our own head and we say, oh, well, this is wonderful that this happened for me. But the real blessing of this, the real blessing of manifestation is when you are able to minister manifestation into the lives of others. That is where it gets really exciting because, again, it's not a big deal if you could do it for yourself. It's not a big deal if you could do it. This is just you. But when you're able to take it and export it beyond your own borders, beyond your own personal borders, and you say, okay, this worked for me, but now I'm going to share it with the world, and someone else says, damn, dude, thank you. You said something that helped me. And y'all, let me say this about this, right? It's not in our script. But manifestation, when you're able to manifest something that someone else is able to look in and replicate, that's the real blessing. Because now it's like what you have been able to manifest is no longer local to you.
Right.
And that's the beauty of it, man. When you're able to take this beyond your own borders and say, man, this is something that helped me, and you share with someone and they're like, man, thank you for that. That blessed me. That's what, man, and y'all hear my heart on this. That's what manifestation is all about. It's not just being able to get what you can for you. I like how Andrew Womack used to say it. He said, get all you can all you got, and then sit on your can. It's not about that. It's being able to. I did this once at a revival, where I said, like, you know, when God is filling your cup, and your cup runs over, I put some other cups underneath the cup that I have.
Oh man, that's good stuff.
And the cup, my cup overflowing, was filling other cups.
Mm-hmm.
That is what it's all about. When you talk about manifestation, dude, that is it. When I can manifest something that not only benefits me, but can also benefit someone else. Mm-hmm. God damn, that is the shit right there, Aaron.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Relentless aligned action.
Yep.
I like that. I like that a lot. Aligned. So when I am believing that I have received the ring, I'm not just sitting there waiting, you know.
You're doing something.
My aligned action was my little shaving kit, right? I'm putting money away because I'm going to buy this ring. But think about it. I mean, to a normal person, that's insane.
Yeah.
Completely crazy. I remember, I'll tell you another one. When we bought our first building, I get a call from a realtor. I'll tell you two stories, because sometimes you just got to be crazy with this stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, so I get a call from this realtor, and she says, I hear you're looking for a church. I'm like, yeah. I didn't know her. She says, well, there's a building for sale. It's a church building. It was a United Brethren church that was built in 1926, right?
Ooh, okay.
And 12,000 square feet roughly. And perfect for the size. Like, it was the perfect next step, right?
Yep.
And so I said, well, I would love this, but we've been in existence for just barely over a year, and I'm not going to be able to borrow the money to buy this. And she says, well, my dad is a bank president. You got to love small towns, man.
Yep.
My dad is the bank president down at, this particular bank. Why don't you go talk to him? So I sit in this meeting, and they tell me, yeah, you can do this. but you're going to have to come up with the down payment. It's going to have to be about $75,000. Now, Derrick, our first year, our entire annual budget wasn't even $60,000. I mean, not budget. Our entire annual income and offerings that first year wasn't even $60,000 for the whole year. And I didn't have any wealthy people in my church at all. And she says, you need to come up with $75,000. So I said, no problem. I miss that boldness I used to have. I'll be honest with you. So I said, no problem. So I go to church the next Sunday. I'm looking at 30 people. We're meeting in a radio station, dude. Like, this radio station had a meeting room that was big enough we could fit about 70 chairs in there. We're about half full. And I stand up and tell everybody, we're going to buy a building. And so we're going to take some offerings. We're going to raise $75,000. And there was a guy I recognized. He brought his family for the first time. He was a burned out pastor at the time, older gentleman, older than me, not old at the time, probably in his 40s, but older than me. And he got his family and got up and walked out. And I'm sure, I'm sure what he was thinking, Derrick, was, oh, great. Here we're going to get involved in one of these, you know how they go, one of these building fundraising things. And we're not about that, right?
Yep.
So he gets up and walks out. And I just boldly declared, we're going to get $75,000. We're going to buy this building. So I send out an email to some friends of mine and say, hey, a pastor from Texas that I trusted at the time. Hey, what do you think? You think I'm crazy? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, no, I think you should go for it. So then he calls me the next day. So this is Monday. He calls me on Tuesday. Sunday, I announced it. Monday, Tuesday, he calls me. He says, I got some good news for you. I want you to sit down. Now, he was in the Sugar Land, just outside of Houston, right?
Yep.
In the heart of oil money, right?
Yep.
Big church. And I'm like, he's got good news for me. Like, this is it, right? And he says, we're going to give you the biggest offering we've ever given to another ministry. He says, we're going to give you $10,000. And I'll be honest with you, Derrick, my heart sank. Because I thought, I still got to raise 65.
65,000, yeah.
60 total last year, right? So I'm like, all right. And, I didn't show. Thank you. That's awesome. That's amazing. Kept my attitude good. That's Tuesday. Wednesday or Thursday, I get a call from the bank. She said, I want to meet with you again. So the banker sits down with me, says, I think you got a lot of potential as a church. We really believe in you. We got to talking as a committee, and we decided if we make you come up with the full down payment, that we're setting you up to fail.
Ooh.
So I don't know if you can do this, but is there any possible way that you can come up with $10,000? And 2 months later, we moved into our new building. And here's the part I find out years later. We had given so much money to missions. Of that 50 or 60 that come in, we'd given so much to missions that they cooked the books before they presented it to the committee to put all that money back in to the income account and not show it as an expense. Now, who's ever heard of that?
Wow.
That was my life, man. That was my lifestyle. But I don't know why. I don't know how that fit with relentless action. Oh, boldness, craziness. Like, it's crazy. It was crazy for me to stand up there and say, we're gonna raise $75,000. It was crazy for me to look at the bank person. Most people would have just been, yeah, this would be a great opportunity. If only we had the money. They'd be thinking in their mind, doing the math, trying to figure out, maybe we could do, like, you can't do enough spaghetti dinners to raise $75,000, right? Nope. You can't do enough craft shows or whatever the hell else people do in churches to raise money, right?
Bake sales, yeah, no, you can't.
So I'll give you one more. When I went back to school and got my bachelor's degree in psychology, that was the farthest I was going to take my education. And a buddy of mine that was in the same program ends up in the hospital. This was mid-August. And I go see him in the hospital, and he tells me he'd gotten into a master's program in counseling. Mm-hmm. I still had a year He was ahead of me. I still had a year of bachelor credits, 30 credits that I had to pick up before I had my bachelor's degree. And his wife tells me, I think you should call this university, which is about 2 hours from here. They're doing a cohort. They're doing a group. It's 1 weekend a month. It was 5 minutes from my house where I'd have to drive. And she says, I think you should just call him and talk to him and see if you could get into the program. What the hell do I have to lose, right? So I call him up, and they're like, this is the day before class starts, 2 days before class starts. I call her up. I said, hey, is it too late for me to get in? She's like, no, just fill out the application, blah, 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 blah. And she says, what was your bachelor's degree in? And I said, well, see, here's the problem. I said, I don't have my bachelor's degree yet. I said, I'm finishing it. And then I was vague in my language on purpose. I'm finishing it. Oh, wow. That really is going to be a problem. She said, well, when are you going to be done? Or how many credits do you have? Or no, she says, what's your GPA? And I had straight A's. So I said, I got straight A's. And she says, how many more credits do you have? And Derrick, I lied. I said, a few, just a few.
Yeah.
I didn't say I got 30. I didn't say I got a year. I said just a few. Well, you're admitted automatically for the first semester, and then you go before this committee, and they decide whether or not to accept you into the program. Will you have your degree by December? There was no way, because I wasn't going full time. Like 30 hours would be May if I was going full time.
Yeah.
There's no way I was going to have it done in a year. But I just, yeah, I'll have it.
Yeah. So
I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm so great. In my mind, I'm thinking I'm so great that I'll just get in there and impress them, and they won't be able to tell me no. They just, oh yeah, you're such a good student, you're such a good fit for the program. We'll just, you can work on them concurrently, right?
Yep.
So I get a new advisor. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm sitting 2 days later, I'm sitting in the program, right? And about October, I get this new advisor, and my Bible school credits wouldn't transfer because they weren't regionally accredited, right?
Yeah.
So I just decided to ask again. Hey, because mostly I needed electives. I'd finished all the other stuff. I had 30 hours of just some general credits and some electives that I had to do. And I said, hey, I have this degree. Was it regionally accredited? No. They said, well, we do accept credits for professional training. So you can submit them as professional training. So the Bible school that I went to, so I thought, okay, great. So the Bible school that I went to is all over the news. There was a guy last year whose wife died mysteriously, and it was all over national news. And his dad ran the Bible school that I went to, and his dad got arrested. I remember I'm scrolling through Facebook, and I see this thing, Bible school allegedly running a slave ring. And I said to myself, like a joke, I said to myself, I haven't told you this story?
No.
Joke. I said, that sounds like where I went. Just because, they were asking slavery. I was like, that sounds like the school I went to. And I clicked on it, and sure as shit. So this guy was bringing people over from overseas, not paying them, making them work their asses off. So he went to federal prison.
Wow.
For human trafficking and all kinds of shit, right? So I called this school. This was years later, but back then I called this school. They don't have my records, Derrick. They don't have my records. They don't have my transcripts. They don't have nothing. And I said, look, I got a degree on my wall with the president, who later went to prison for running a slave ring.
Fuck.
Reginald Wayne, what the hell was his last name? I can't even remember. Anyway, I threatened to sue him. So they call me back and they say, what was your degree again? What was your GPA? They manufactured my transcript so I could submit the credits. And by November, the school that I was going to had accepted all of my professional credits to cover all of my electives and general credits. And I had my degree in November, and nobody was any the wiser by the time I showed up for the interview in December. But here's my point. The average person would have said, fuck that. There's no way that that's going to be able to work. So there has to be a level of commitment that says, I don't care what the rules are. I don't care what the natural, ordinary way of going about something is.
Right.
I have settled in my heart, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to have. And I put forth relentless effort. Relentless meaning not just putting in the work, but all this stuff coming at you that's saying, ain't possible, ain't going to happen. You're crazy for thinking this, and you persevere anyway.
Yep.
Anyway, sorry, man.
No, dude, that's clutch. And here's the thing, right? Is that manifestation is like this, that a lot of times you will be persuaded that it just isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
That it can't happen.
Impossible.
And that's the power of manifestation, is that you will look at an impossible situation, a situation that everything says death, but you speak life to it.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, I started off the episode by saying that the Word of Faith people are kind of onto something here. That if you believe that you receive, you can achieve.
Yep.
But, and because I like Sir Mix-a-Lot, I like big butts, and I cannot lie.
Yeah.
It has to be backed with corresponding action. It has to be backed with something that it's not just you believing, it's not just you saying, it's not just you seeing, but you're actually actively participating in the process. And if you're willing to do this, and I think this is probably like a good point to start landing the plane, is that if you are willing to put forth the work, then your dreams can come true, that your manifestation can produce some tangible, meaningful reality. And I want to say this, that Bill Gates believed that everybody could have a computer in their home. It wasn't the computer that made it possible, it was the software. He believed the software was what was going to make it possible. Steve Jobs believed that everyone could have a fully functioning computer in their hand that would also allow them to communicate with the world.
Yeah.
That Elon Musk, and I hate that fucker, but he believed that an electric car could be sexy, that it could be a viable commercial concept. And the thing was that none of these people stopped until they saw their dream come to pass. Jeff Bezos started selling books out of his garage, and now Amazon is Amazon is the biggest company in the world. It's the biggest retail company in the world. If you are willing to commit your belief, and let me just say this to everybody that's listening, it isn't belief in God. I think that if there is a God, that this God is not really all loving or all compassionate. I think he's kind of like a kid with an ant farm. That's me. If there's a God, right? But in the within the constraints of the ant farm, there are a lot of things that you can achieve if you're willing to commit to the process. So don't just sit and sit on your hands and say, well, if it's going to happen, God is going to do it. No, God is not going to do it. If it's going to happen, you're going to make it happen. You're going to make it happen. You're going to create the connections. You're going to create the situations, the circumstances. You're going to make the connections with people that bring it to pass. But don't stop believing. Don't stop believing. And if you're willing to commit to that, I believe that you can make the miraculous manifest. And when it happens, this is how you'll know. Because if it seems miraculous, it's not anything that you've done. But if you look at this and you kind of settle into this groove, you say, man, look at that. That's really amazing. And you can say, something, I was a participant in this process. I helped to bring this to pass.
Yeah.
I manifested this.
Yep.
That's all I have, Aaron.
That's a good note. That's a good note to end on, to be honest. I think so. This is a fun show, though, man.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Fun show. It's good to be back with you.
Well, it is. And, and here's the thing. Like, I'm at this point now where we talked about this in the green room. I'm not moved by any low vibrational shit anymore. Yeah. It's like politics, religion. It's like, y'all can have all of that shit.
Yep.
What I'm trying to figure out now is how do me and my wife and my family and my friends achieve the best life that we could possibly live.
Yeah.
And that's it. So I'm all about high vibrational shit now.
Love it. I love it. I love it. And I do think, I don't know, man, this has been so good. I'm stuck on the ripple effects of when we do something, when we connect with people. And, I got to tell you, I don't know if I've ever told you before, but like when I was facing mortality, I can't tell you how many people, dude, that I quit telling people that I had been in the hospital with heart conditions, because I would tell them, I'm generally a very what you see is what you get kind of guy. I really am. I don't wear a lot of masks. And so I'd run into people, and I can't tell you how many people, well, I knew somebody that happened to, and they got better and then they died. Or, yeah, I knew somebody and they got better for a while and they died. And I'm like,
Aaron, that's why I didn't tell everybody. It's like what I've said today is just a snapshot of what I went through. But you saw the whole thing. You were there through the whole. I mean, you saw all of it.
Yeah.
But the point that I'm getting at is that I didn't expose that to everyone because here's the thing. You said this. You got to be careful what you say to whom. Because not, like you could be believing for something. You could say, hey, I'm believing I'm going to manifest this. And somebody's going to come up there and they're going to say, oh, yeah, I saw somebody that was believing for this and it didn't work out. And, man, fuck you. I'm not telling you everything. And that's why, the boundaries of trust are really important. And that's why I love you, man. Because it's like I can tell you anything without shame, without judgment. It's like you're going to give me feedback just as I need to get it.
Yeah.
And not everybody is going to give that.
Yeah. And again, I don't know why, I guess I'm saying this for like the Christian world out there. Like,
yeah.
Have you read the Bible? Because again, Jesus says in the Sermon on the Mount, right? This thing, like this whole prayer thing in the church, what the hell are we doing?
Right.
Because Jesus says in Matthew 6:5, he says, when you pray, you shall not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the corner streets, that they may be seen by people, right?
Yep.
I say to you, they have their reward. In other words, their reward was they got to be seen.
Yep, exactly.
He says, but you, when you pray, go into your room, and when you've shut the door, pray to your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly. And when you pray, do not use vain repetitions as the heathen do, for they think they'll be heard from their many words. And so it's like it's right there. It's right there, because this is so important. Last thing, like, keep it a secret, man. Like, you don't have to go around telling everybody what. And I'll be honest with you, Derrick, most of the stuff that I've been able to manifest, I didn't tell a soul. You know, I mean, other than you and people in my life that were close to me, I didn't put it out there for public consumption what was going on. I kept saying I had health challenges. I was in the hospital. I put out that I was in the hospital, but I didn't put out there I got heart failure. That basically, I mean, dude, when your heart is pumping less than 20% of the blood out of your body, out of your heart into your body, and you got blood clots because the blood is backed up, and you got 25 pounds of edema, fluid building up in your lungs, drowning you, and in your stomach, like, you're fucked. Yeah. And your resting heart rate in the hospital and laying in a bed is 184 beats per minute on average. Like, I was not out there broadcasting that. I wasn't calling the prayer team. I wasn't, oh my God, this is the judgment of God for me deconstructing. I better go back to church.
Church.
But that would have been a real thing, right? Like, that would have been a real temptation.
Absolutely. But you know, to piggyback on that, right? It's like my whole relationship with Maya. I didn't share that with everybody. Right. Not everybody needed to know that. Right. You know, it's like, you know, in the words of Biggie Smalls, the notorious B.I.G., bad boys move in silence and violence. Yeah. In other words, you can't tell everybody what it is that you're going through or what it is that you're doing. You know, it's like when you're in the lab and you're working it out, you're not telling everybody. I mean, when you look at the great physicists, when you look at Niels Bohr, when you look at Albert Einstein, when you look at Richard Feynman, you know, when you look at Werner Heisenberg, these guys weren't sharing everything until they had it cold. Yeah, you don't tell everybody what you're going through.
And I did not share my testimony, release the public information until my doctor told me, same thing your doctor said, Aaron, your heart's perfectly healthy. We're going to cut back on your medication. And if everything goes well, my next appointment's in February. And if everything checks out in February, I'm done and completely off medication. And I've been taking blood pressure medicine forever.
Wow. And see, I want to be like you when I grew up, because I haven't got to the point where I'm off medicine, but I'm out of cardiology.
But here's the thing. That was my goal.
Yeah.
Like, I said it back in last September.
So you manifested.
And I kept imagining in my mind every night before I went to bed, walking into my doctor's office and him telling me, I don't need to see you anymore, and you're completely off medication. That's how specific I was. Yeah. But it wasn't until after, and then even after, I made damn sure before I even started talking about it, right? Like, and I just think that's a good rule of thumb. You brought it up, and so that's why I'm belaboring the point. But I just think it's a good rule of thumb for people, like fucking shut your mouth. Yep. And, you know, you can share with a few people. I shared with you, you knew what was going on. You know, obviously the people really close to me locally, they knew what was going on. That was it, though. I'm not like, please. And again, I'm not coming against anybody, like, because I see people on Facebook, you know, please pray for, you know, so-and-so and send thoughts. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. No. But what I'm saying is, is that's not necessarily what gets the results.
Yeah.
It might get you emotional support, which you need, which is valid and is perfectly fine, but it's not necessarily going to lead to any kind of manifestation. And so we violate, I mean, and I feel like I'm being an apologist here, and I don't mean to be, but we violate everything Jesus taught about prayer and then get pissed off when our prayers don't get answered and blame God.
Yep.
When we didn't follow what was said in the first place.
To your point, what you said earlier, you didn't read the fucking book.
Yeah. So, like, you know, if you get this RTA furniture, which is just shit, I've decided I'm buying at estate sales and antique stores from now on, because everything's just garbage out there in the furniture world, right? But you get this RTA stuff, and I'm a verbal person, so back when there was directions that I could actually read, like, I'm good. But all this fucking bullshit with pictures and stuff, like, oh my God. But how many of us tried to put something together and we just threw out we didn't take the time to read the instructions, and then it looks like crap, or it doesn't come together, and then we're like mad at the manufacturer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right there.
And again, I'm not trying to get people to, you know, I'm not trying to be an apologist for the Bible, but it's just ironic to me that even the ones that are pounding it aren't reading it.
Here's the thing, that if you're going to base your belief on a thing, then you should at least know the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's, you know, I say this all the time, that the vast majority of people that lean on the Bible have no idea what it says.
Yeah. And I mean, my personal take is, I think there's a lot of esoteric stuff in there. I think there's a lot of valuable stuff in there. I think religion is complete crap.
Yep. Exactly. I'm right there with you.
So anyway, this is great, man. I enjoyed it very much. One of our best episodes, I think.
I think so too. This has been.
I like this high vibrational stuff.
And that's where I am. It's like, it's like so many times I want to dunk on Trump, and I want to dunk on Christians, and I want to dunk on, and I'm like, but then I'm like, that's not where I want to be vibrationally.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm with you 100%.
So let's go up. Let's go up, and let's take everybody with us.
Sounds good, man. Hey, next Friday's Halloween, so I'll be out with my kids.
Yep.
But
I understand. We'll be out here trick or treating, and Maya's going to dress me up as something. I don't know.
Awesome. So I hope everybody has a happy Satan's Day.
Yeah.
Satan's birthday. That wine must be hitting me because it's time to go.
Happy Devil's birthday.
Happy Devil's Day. I'm going to put that on Facebook. Happy Satan's birthday.
There you go. I'm going to copy that.
I'm going to put a picture of, I've got Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible in my library. I'm going to take that book out and take a picture of it.
A picture of Anton LaVey.
Happy Satan's Day. Take a thing from Rosemary's Baby or something. Everybody out there, just have yourself a time. And all you Christians out there should feel bad because you're being unfaithful to Jesus.
Aaron,
all right, I gotta go, dude.
You are the motherfucking man. I just want to tell you.
I said that second glass of wine's hitting me. So,
all right, brother. So we're gonna go ahead and check out. Hey, love y'all. We won't be here next week, but the week after next, we will be back.
Up again. All right, man. Love you.
Love you too, man.